Good morning. Hand today is going to be Jack 10 offsuit, early position, 25 NL game. It's to us. We fold. Small blind, min raises, and big blind calls. Small blind, no hands. We've got one hand on him right now. We have attempt to steal them 4-bet with jacks. We got a 4-betting range with jacks. We've got a note on played turn draw aggressively. That's about it. So I'm just putting together a range like this. It's a min raise. I'm gonna assume that the player knows a little something about playing from the blinds. So he's gonna try to steal when it folds to him in small blind. His bet sizing is off though. Kind of makes it seem like he's just betting 2-bet. So I'm gonna give him kind of a wider range here. I think you've got your ace X, your king X. I think your suited queens is probably in there. I think you get your suited 1, 2, and 3 gappers. Probably doesn't have the weaker hands. Maybe the offsuit 1 gappers too. I mean, it's a big range. It's almost 55%. So we're just going to go with this range. This next player called. He's playing 23-16. We've got 75 hands on him. We've got called 2 bets from the blind range with king 4 off. So I went ahead and made sure we have the ace X, king X. I also gave him the queen X suited. Gave him, our suited connectors as well. For him, I think we've got a raising range. I think these better hands would probably raise here in this spot, but again, I'm just going off of what I think just the regular player would do. And I do think regular player would probably raise with a lot of those hands. Maybe not all of them. I mean, he would be 3-betting, but this is blind versus blind. Steals are totally possible. So the raises are going to be generally slightly weaker than if they raised, let's say, a mid position raise first in player. So we're going to go to the flop and see king 10-7 with 2 clubs. So villain 6 checks. He had the initiative. He checked it. Given the nature of the board, you have possibility of open-enders with a jack queen, with an 8-9. You've got a bunch of gut shots out there. Jack 9, queen 9, jack 8. You've got flush draws out there. I would imagine that this player would have bet basically his top pairs, his good top pairs, plus probably also king 9 and king 8. Yeah, I think he probably would have c-bet all of those, which leaves the rest of these hands. I do think flush draw is probably betting. Again, we don't have everything. We don't have all of his stats, but I would assume like a flush draw would have bet here. Gut shot, I think, could possibly just call, or could check here. But I think flush draw open ender's probably betting. So that's going to be his checking range. And then villain 7 bets. He bets 3. I think he does bet top pair. He probably bets middle pair as well. And then your flush draw open enders. I'm going to give him the gut shot as well. Let's see here. Would he do it with these other pairs? Probably not. 2-card backdoor flush draws. Maybe. Nah, we'll leave it there. We'll leave it at that. I mean, he bet. That's 3/4 of a pot. And villain 6 calls. So he checks and then he calls. I think he's probably going to be calling pocket pair below the board, bottom pair. Yeah, we'll say bottom pair up to whatever we had. So he was going to fold some of his hands. Queen of diamonds comes out. Now he bets. He bets half pot, and that's kind of unusual. You check called and then you lead. I don't think you're looking at a set or 2 pair. I kind of think those would, once you check the flop, if you improve to those, you're probably going to be check raising. Maybe he's got a top pair with a weak kicker. Maybe pocket pair below the second card. Maybe he's just bluffing. We'll do that. Top pair, pocket pair below the second card, and we'll give him the open ender as well. Let's see here, Jack 10, like a pair with the open ender. Note that we had Jack 10 here. So we do block 10, we block Jack. So anyways, yeah, he bet. This guy calls. I think the straight raises. I think the set probably raises. 2 pair probably raises. I think we'll scale that down and say just 50% chance that he actually raises. I mean, there is a possibility of a straight now if you have a Jack 9. Same thing with the set. We'll say 50% of the time he would be betting. I think the top pair probably just calls here. Middle pair probably just calls here. I think the weak pairs, the no-made hands, probably fold. I think your flush draws, open enders call as well. All right, so we see the river is Jack. 4 to the straights on board. Villain 6 checks. I think at that point, I think he's probably checking everything that he has in his range. And same thing with, I think, villain 7 is probably going to be checking minus a straight. I think the ace high straight's betting. The 9 is probably just checking. So we're going to go with that. So we see the river. He shows Jack 3. So this guy had Jack 3 off. That was a flush draw. So we didn't have that in the range because the flush draw. We would have assumed he would have bet, and we also didn't have Jack 3 down here. I mean, if he's doing that, that kind of, okay, we missed it. Is it, let's see here. Could we have like identified it? Does it agree with how he may have played it? Yeah, I think the queen kind of improved him. I guess if he has a flush draw, we kind of assumed he would have just led with all of his flush draws, but this is only a Jack high flush draw, like 4th nut. So I could see maybe going back and revising our ranges. So we could say RFI 2 big blinds in small blind. Well, actually, let's do BvB because we've done that before. BvB, RFI 2 big blinds in small blind with Jack 3 clubs. He's out of position. Check called 75%. bet 50%, check on a king of hearts, 10 of clubs, 7 of clubs, queen of diamonds, jack of spades. All right. So you got that guy. Interesting to note that, yeah, he had a lower flush draw and he chose not to bet it. So knowing that, we keep that in the range. The queen improved him, just like we said. The queen improved him. I think that's why he bet. I think that could be the jack. We kind of had the jacks, and that's why I noted that we had a jack 10. So we're starting to block it, which if the queen's going to improve him, maybe he has the ace, maybe he has a 9, or the queen. I'm probably thinking more along the lines of a queen at that point. This other guy had king 4 off, so we did have that as a top pair hand. It actually represents about 40%. Kind of assumed he would have that. Once he called, I think his bet, on the missed C bet, could be a range of hands, but him calling on the turn suggests that he actually has something. And I don't think he was going to be raising unless he had something good. So like ace king, 2 pair straight, 2 pair set. We scale those at 50%. If you recall, I think those are raising ranges. But he chose not to do that, so it kind of matches his range. So we'll take notes on him. So this is also a BvB. Call, small blind, 2 big blind, RFI in big blind with king of spades, 4 clubs. In position, bet 75%. Call 50%, check. All right, so what do I think of the players? I'm fine with his raise pre-flop. No problem there. I guess the king 4 calling is fine. Little surprised at his check on the flop. I think with the draws, I guess he would have to be careful that he doesn't unbalance himself. So if he has those, the suited jacks, and if that's just it, I guess if we add flush draw, open enders, gut shots, that's at 23%, and then that leaves us with, let's see, we'll just do our good top pair. We'll do ace king, king queen, king jack. That's about, okay, that's a little more than 2 to 1. Bluff to value. And that could be about it. We might be able to bet. I think you want some of these top pairs to be checks too, and that's, you probably want some of these flush draws to be checks too. So I guess, yeah, it's probably some of these lower ones you could check. I think like these 8-5s, 8-6s, those are all, you have some you've got some value with them. You got some value because you can pick up some straight draws too. So that could be C bet, and then check call with all the rest of these. So I guess, yeah, he probably played okay. I'm not going to complain too much about his range. And I think, yeah, once he skipped, he's got a top pair, weak kicker, he bets. He gets called. He's probably, big blind's probably betting the turn to, if it was checked to him. my guess is that's probably what he would have done, and I'm sure he was surprised. Could big blind find a raise? Could he find a raise? We get to here. Yes, that's 2 pair. I mean, he could. We know the queen helped him in some way. Does he help him with a 2 pair? Possibly. But I think maybe like a queen X, open ender. Yeah, maybe this is a raising spot for him. You're going to build up your EV. I think folding's going to be the worst option for him with his actual hand. But I think raising here, you're going to get called by your flush draw. I think you're going to get called by Jack 3 by these open enders. So you are getting called by worse hands with the draw. And your king's a weak kicker, but you raise. Let's go to the turn. He bets 5. You raise this to 15. Yeah, you raise that to 15. He's calling. You just made 10 more big blinds. And then when the jack, he checks, you could easily just check behind then and take your showdown with the top pair weak kicker. You get your value on the turn. Because you just call here. This guy, Jack 4, is probably not going to call. He checks, you bet. He's probably not going to call with this jack. So the time to get some extra value would have been on the turn. All right, so I think we're just going to end here. We're talking about this hand. It's hard. I'd probably think about running some GTO, but I'm just a bit unsure about our starting ranges here. So I'm not sure how useful it would be with these big ranges. But if you like this hand, you can look tomorrow. We will review and post another hand.